grew up in New York, left New York, after playing football for one season at Marist College in Poughkeepsie. Then I went on active duty. Spent 22 plus years in the Army, 11 enlisted, 11 commissioned. After I went to OCS as a platoon sergeant, so basically I took a demotion to get a promotion.
Yes.
And then retired from the Army, and then did contract work overseas for about 9 years, where ran training contracts for all the units deploying into Iraq. So I had basically had I worked for a program manager in Kuwait, and then I had trainers. I was the director of training, so I had trainers in Kuwait, in Afghanistan, in Iraq, in Saudi Arabia. So we ran training for both U.S. and for coalition forces. Did that for a while, and then came back and decided to go back to school, and went back to school and got my PhD in business with a focus on organizational behavior and leadership, and started in my third career, which is higher education. So I've been in higher education administration since about 2013, and along that way, I had a buddy of mine who was also a contractor, and he was like, "Hey, there's this thing called the post 9/11 GI Bill. Did you know about that?" I'm like, "Dude, I already have, I've got all the education I could possibly get." He goes, "No, you can still use it." I was like, "What am I gonna use it for?" And then I don't know. I just went to seminary. God was just like
Sure.
laying on my heart, so I went to Liberty and studied and graduated from Liberty Seminary with an MDiv with a focus on apologetics. Figure I grew up Jewish, I might as well learn to argue better. So
Sure.
I'm naturally an arguer. So
That's funny.
I studied apologetics, and then along that way I started teaching in doctoral programs and teaching at Liberty, and then I met Bo Black, or Bo Starkey, excuse me, Bo Starkey.
Both of them are
At,
trouble, so it's okay.
yeah, both of them are trouble, exactly. And one's a very large human, and the other's just a very nice human. So, but I met Bo at the gym, and I had a shirt on, right, that said RLTW, and it said even SEALs need heroes or something like that.
That's
Right?
awesome, by the way.
It was sort of a it's inter-service humorous shirt. And he says, "I got somebody that you need to meet." And so I went and met met Coach O'Brien. I met Mark, and we just hit it off, right? So that was 2 seasons ago. So I helped out, coached a little bit, and then the following season, Coach said, "Hey, I want you to be the chaplain for the football team."
Yeah.
And along that way, somehow got hooked up, and I was, associate pastor at a small church, and then I did that for a season, did the chaplain thing, and then next thing I know, Jason's talking to me, and I end up, doing for the whole school and doing chapel for the school, and then all of a sudden I'm on staff at Wills Creek. It just sort of, God just like
Sure.
sort of put all these doors and opened the doors, and as God does, orchestrated everything, and here we are. Now I'm doing chapel for I never envisioned myself at 59 years old, a youth, a kind of a youth pastor.
I get it.
But here we are.
So
That's the Reader's Digest.
should we be unbelievably excited about the meeting with Bo Starkey, or should we be upset with him? He caused all this, right?
Yeah, it's all his fault. So if it goes wrong, it's not my fault.
For sure. Hey, let's talk about another quick sponsor. Oh, it's a great sound right there, especially when it's all natural. Celsius energy drink right there. I'll hook you up. Celsius, go online, JW44, 20% off all your Celsius needs there. This is episode Alan Preizer. How many people call you Pfizer?
a lot. Yeah,
Welcome to Alabama.
yeah, it's all good. It's all good. Or Preizer. They want to throw a T in there. That's it's all good. Call me whatever you want. Just don't call me late for dinner, as
Well,
they
it's
say.
it's a long road from New York to Alabama, but I'm certainly blessed to got to know you over the past couple years. And I mean, one of my favorite days, I'm out there watching practice, and I just kind of glimpse to the corner. Who is that? Alan? And you're snapping the football. You're showing how it's like he's coaching too. He's praying for a broke ankle and he's coaching at the same time. The guy does a little bit of everything. Um, let's talk about Wills Creek,
Yeah,
if we can. It's a church has been consistent in the area for a long time, and Jason does a fantastic job. His musical choices on Friday night during the football game are horrible, but I hear his pastoral churches are pretty. I mean, his options there are pretty good.
yeah. No, I've been blessed to get involved with the men's ministry there, and to be able to focus on that. Sort of my passion
Yeah,
is discipleship, and leadership. Because the reality of the matter is that leadership is a spiritual thing
oh
as much
sure,
as it is anything, right? And it's all about relationships, and it's personal and it's messy, right? So I like all of those things.
you like the mess.
So the messy is the best part about it, right? It's getting in there and understanding, um, meeting people where they are so that they can get better,
Mm.
right? And really getting closer to achieving what they want to achieve, right? And 90%, I wrote a book. It's called the Philosophy of Muddy Boots Leadership, right?
Oh, cool. How can
And
people get that?
yeah, it's on Amazon. You can just type in Philosophy of Muddy Boots Leadership. I didn't really write it for to sell them, right? More books than I've sold, but it's really about, it's a biblical philosophy of leadership.
Okay.
So my premise of the book is there hasn't been an original thought lately. You know that as much as you want to dress it up with cool terms like adaptive leadership or transformational leadership or this kind of leadership or serve, it all comes down to biblical leadership,
Mm.
right?
Love it.
So it teaches you to be close to people, take responsibility, lead by example, stay true to your word and stay true to God's word, right? Don't be the person that is trying to say that you are the center of the universe,
Ooh.
right? It's God is the center of the universe. And as a leader, if you think you're the center of your organization, then that's the same thing as you saying that you're above God, right? In general terms. So there's a direct corollary between, putting God first and then putting your people first in
Right.
in terms of being a leader who is a servant to the organization and not one who expects the organization to serve them.
Mm.
Um,
Put that on
and
your
then at the
T-shirt.
end, I've got sort of a flippant thing, a play
Mm.
on words. I've got the 30 rules for the muddy boots leader, right? And they're super, quirky or pithy, as they say. Um, it's like, do, do what you say, say what, you know, s- back up your words with action, right?
Right.
Don't strive for mediocrity. Seek responsibility and take responsibility for your actions. And the other thing is, like, you think about leadership. Leadership is all about giving credit and taking responsibility.
Mm.
So,
Yeah.
that's this the in fact, we're starting a new men's Bible study.
Oh,
Everybody's invited.
heck yeah.
7:30 p.m. starting in August stuff. And I'll give you the
Yeah.
all the details if you want. And it's going to be, I'm writing a Bible study based off of the leadership book. So it's sort of part Bible study, part discipleship training program, because it takes all of the things, um, and a lot of times using the Apostle Paul as a model, right?
It's a
The
good model.
model leader,
Yeah.
because you can see you can still fail and be a leader, right? As we see, but it's also about um, integrity, grit, humility, and
Mm.
servitude.
Oof, that's right. One of my favorite quotes. I wish I was smart enough to have came up with it, but I obviously didn't. I can't tell you where I got it, but I've used it often throughout my career. Leaders lead regardless of titles.
Yeah,
True leaders lead regardless of titles. Um, so, big difference. And I want you to get into this a little bit. Wills Creek Church is Coosa Christian, but it's not Coosa Christian, right? It's to talk about that a little bit. I think there's a lot of confusion in our local area anyway with what is Wills Creek and what is Coosa Christian School.
yeah. So the school is a ministry of the church, and that's sort of the simple way to put it. And if you want to be legalistic about it, right? They're
Sure.
two legal entities,
Yeah.
right? They're two separate entities. However, the school is a ministry of the church. That's
Right.
the easiest way to describe
And we've God, we've needed such strong spiritual leadership for these boys, and I appreciate the fact that you're throwing another hat on and doing that. Um, you talk if people don't think that a football team is a family, you don't think a football team is going through spiritual warfare, then you hadn't been around Coosa Christian.
it. Yeah, that's for sure.
It's like, and I think it's pretty fitting that you being a ranger, you're helping adapt these young people, and Coosa is not. I can't say it enough. There are different types of private Christian schools. There is a high level IMG academy, right, where it's the richest of the rich or the best of the best, and that's not or nor was it ever intended for what Coosa Christian is to be. It's a different kind of private school. Can you dig into that a little bit?
Yeah, so I'm new to all this, right?
Yeah.
So I'm learning about this stuff as much as anybody around or anybody listening for that matter, right?
Hmm.
But bottom line is that we're the working class Christian school.
Okay, like it.
That's
Yeah, yeah.
that's the easiest way. We would if you want to put this in sports terms, right? IMG is all about quarterbacks. We're all about offensive line.
Love that analogy. Yeah, I'm with you.
Right? So it's the gritty, right? It's the working class. We don't charge the $25,000 a year like some one of these private academies
Hmm.
that are really prep schools, not private schools.
There you go.
There's a difference between a prep school and a private school.
Sure, sure.
So Christian private school is there's ones that are held by huge endowments, right? There's one of those locally, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And then there's ones that basically operate the way most family budgets do, paycheck to paycheck,
Amen. Yeah.
and that's where we are.
And we're not taking a shot at other private schools.
No,
That's
it
not what
is
we're doing
what
at
it
all.
is.
But there is a
It
difference.
is what it is.
Yeah, and I think people get it confused. I think they lump every um, private school in one. Hey, those are the the well-to-dos and those kind of things, and that's not Coosa, man.
Not every private school is the same.
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
So you have to dig into the Coosa Christian is a ministry first.
Yeah.
So it is really about it's funny because I teach at Liberty, and the motto of Liberty is building soldiers for Christ, right? Making leaders for
Hmm.
Christ. I said soldiers, but it's making leaders for Christ, right?
Sure.
Which is very similar to what Kusa is, right? It's the first and foremost thing that is important is that we're training Christians,
Mm, love
right?
it.
We're giving the opportunity. They don't have to be Christians when they come in because it's evangelical, right? It's
Hmm.
not. It's not about. There's no litmus test,
Sure.
right?
Sure.
Just like Jesus ate with sinners, right? And Jesus wouldn't have said, "Oh, I'm sorry. There's a litmus test for you to come hang out with me.
Mm,
Show me that in the Bible."
yeah, I'm with you.
So it's the same. It's same with Kusa, right? We want to make it. We share the gospel and change lives,
Man. And play good football.
and there's a
Yeah,
byproduct, right?
absolutely.
When you're
Absolutely.
that gritty, right? You tend to do well,
What
right?
what's been your favorite football moment since you've been at Coosa? There's been a lot of
Um,
good, a lot of bad.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Probably the fight game.
Oh yeah, heck yeah,
You know, I think the build up, right, and just the that sort of David and Goliath moment, right,
sure.
and the moment when they realized that we were David and they were, they were David and we were Goliath, or vice versa.
Yeah, it
They
flipped on them.
realized that it flipped. At some moment during that game, they realized that they they miss they underestimated the amount of grit that our football team had,
And
because they had way more talent. They were much more talented. I'll give them that. There's there that running back is a D1 running. I mean, that
oh,
boy,
he's at Clemson. Logan Anderson.
exactly, that boy was the real deal, right? But you know what? When you got four people on you all the time, it don't matter if you're a real deal or not. You're
Yeah.
going down.
So that night, what I remember about that night is all the rain, that we've had that week, and that day it was miserable. Yeah, sideways rain. It was crazy, right? I'm having to close the window in the press box and wipe it down, and poor camera people that were on top there. That was bad, but it could have got away from us really quickly, because that's what happens with Fife. They get on you. We had the bad
We
snap in
played
the end
their
zone.
game.
We
We
did.
played. We beat them at their game.
Out
That was the
physicaled
thing.
them. Out
Yeah,
physicaled them,
pushed them
and
around all night.
I've never seen a Fife team quit ever.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
did, unfortunately, and I'm sure because their coach is so good, they're going to build from that, and they're going to grow. It's going to make them a better team in the long run. But you're right; that was a incredible game.
yeah.
Um,
Radley was there. Radley pushed their center into the backfield and into their quarterback probably 50%, 60% of the time. He spent that their center spent more time in their offensive backfield than their running backs did.
Speaking of Radley, let's go back for a second. Watching him get baptized a
Oh
few
yeah,
weeks ago,
that was amazing.
God, that is he is a special kid. I don't think he realizes, and I've known him his whole life,
Mhm.
um, how much of an impact he is. He's a quiet leader, right? He's an idiot, just like all the O'Briens and the whole family. And I say that in the most positive way, right? That's who they are, and I love every one of them for it. He is gonna be so impactful.
Yeah, he's got a
Uh,
quiet intensity about him.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. Absolutely, and a lot of those kids. But that when we celebrate those things, we celebrate chapel as much as a touchdown.
Yeah,
It's pretty.
no,
It's pretty special for sure.
yeah,
So New York, let's back
yeah.
up a little bit.
I grew up on Long Island. I mean, my family is originally from the Bronx, but I lived in the Bronx, a short time when I was a kid, but
I love the
very
boogie down.
very young. But then we lived on Long Island most of my life.
Well,
So
it's way better than Queens.
well, that's where I had family. I had a family in Queens
So
too.
you like to fight. That's why you got in the military.
Yeah. Well, I grew up I was a pretty rowdy kid, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. I probably fought more than, well, where that came from is I lived in Delaware, right,
What?
for a short period of time when my dad got a job at Old Salt Seafood in Delaware, and we lived down there, and it was during during uh, during busing days, right? When
Mm-hmm.
except it was reverse busing. So, I went to an all black elementary school in Milford, Delaware, and me and my sister were one of, like, there was maybe four total, white kids in the school, and not that that's a bad thing,
Oh
but
no.
we were white, Jewish, and from New York, in the South, this was like the early '70s, so it was it was interesting. So I learned to fight at a very young
You
age,
had to. You had to for
out of
sure.
necessity. Um, but and then we went back to New York, and it was on Long Island most of the time. Just if it weren't for football, I probably would have. I never would have made it through school.
Yeah, let's start with that. We're having a conversation again. This is Alan Preizer. Um, you'll figure out who he is soon enough. Um, and we're at Union Jack's Cafe, sitting outside. It's a group of people solving the world's problems. I come sit down. I'm just listening to a conversation. I don't know if Bo invited me or Mark. Somebody invited me to this breakfast, and I'm sitting down and just listening. And you and a gentleman went to school together, right? And I found it interesting that you guys both from New York, and you're in Rainbow City, Alabama, eating at Union Jack's. I'm like, good Lord, what a small world. Talk about that.
Yeah,
We're talking about Chris.
yeah. Chris actually graduated from sort of a rival high school, right? And we graduated high school in the same year, and then we ended up both going. We didn't know each other, and we both went to Marist College. He played lacrosse at Marist, and I played football at Marist, and we never knew each other. So it's just super funny to
Yeah.
meet somebody with that much commonality who I never actually knew in Alabama.
Yeah, that's great. He's such a good dude, man. I miss him.
Hmm.
I know he's living his best life. Up is he in Coleman now? Is that what I heard?
Yeah, I'm not really sure. I got his number, but we haven't really spoken since he left.
Yeah, last time I talked to him, I think he took a job at a Christian school in Coleman, athletic director, I think. And I think he would be fantastic, man. It's a big loss for the athletes in our area that he's not with us anymore. Hey, I'm going to throw a quote at you, and I want to know, just tell me about the quote a little bit.
Hmm.
Rangers lead the way.
Yeah, well, it's the truth. There's that old adage, when SEALs get in trouble, who do they call? Rangers, right?
That's
When Marines get in trouble, who do they call? Rangers. When Delta SF gets in trouble, who do they call? When Rangers get in trouble, who do they call? Other Rangers,
that's
right?
awesome.
So and that's it's sort of flippant, but it's sort of true because when you look at the character of what a ranger is, it's all about the pointy end of the spear, right? So that Rangers lead the way came from, there's a lot of lore behind
Sure.
where the quote from, but most believe it came from Point du Hoc, and Rangers lead the way because and scale the cliffs, and Point du Hoc.
Is that Normandy?
Yeah, Normandy.
Yeah. So when we talk, I love talking. Sean Ryan is one of my favorite podcasts. Right, I really like his journey. Super cool guy, super cool guy. He was an operator, of course, and you talk about all the special forces as such a broad term. Because even in the Army, the special operation forces, I think, and Delta Rangers, Green Berets, Delta Force. Talk to me about all that. I'm
So
confused by it.
that's changed so much in the 20 years since I've retired. but but in general, you've got the umbrella is JSOC, right?
Yeah.
That's the Joint Special Operations Command, and then under JSOC you have the from the Army side, right? You've got the 75th Ranger Regiment, right, which fall is a JSOC asset, right? And then you've got the Task Force 160th, which is Special Operations Aviation Regiment, the Night Stalkers, right? That's and then you've got all of the all of you got the Army Green Berets or the Special Forces regiments. Those fall under USASOC, which are U.S. Army Special Operations Command.
Gotcha.
So you've got the AFSOC, Air Force Special Operations, NAVSOC. You've got all the components,
Hmm.
right? And then they come up through to JSOC, right?
Gotcha.
So
And same thing
you've
with,
got
with SEALs over here, and
SEALs,
the,
exactly.
yeah.
SEAL, because there's only the JSOC elements, right? SEAL Team 6,
Hmm.
right? Delta, right? 75th, right? Those are JSOC assets. That means they're interoperable,
That's
right?
pretty cool, by the way.
Where you've got the special forces regiments are really focused on Army, which may work under JSOC,
Yeah.
right? But there's not a direct command relationship there.
Then the best of the best. So like I guess JSOC can come in and can take this gentleman from a Ranger, this one from us,
Exactly,
and
exactly.
it's
Like the Delta takes applicants from all services, all branches,
mhm.
all rates, whatever. You could be a mechanic in the Navy and go try out and make it and become a Delta operator.
First time I was introduced to Delta, I think it was Chuck Norris.
Yeah,
It,
yeah,
one of those movies. Yeah,
yeah. The movies,
yeah, that's pretty. And of course,
but
it's on TV. It's got to be real.
of course.
That's really how it is. Hey,
But the
again,
best in my mind, and of course I'm biased, of course, but
you better be.
you know, but the in terms of getting the job done, quietly, right, and with a very small footprint, there's no better there's nothing better than Delta.
What? Give me your story of that aha moment, Pastor, where you're geared up. You guys are on a mission. You don't have to go into any real
Yeah,
details. You can't, but you're like you had this moment of wow, I cannot believe I'm doing this.
yeah. So my career was this way, right? I had 50% of my career was what I say having fun, right? And then 50% of my career was paying for having fun, right? So because
I get that.
I, I didn't do very many cool things as a commissioned officer,
Yeah.
because most of the time I was late. I was such later in my career. I commanded a company in the 101st, but this was in between their deployments, so I didn't get to do anything cool there. But as a young soldier and as a squad leader, and a LURS long range surveillance team leader, I had an opportunity to do a lot of cool things, including missions on our southern border, doing counter narcotics missions and things like that. So those are always sort of cool aha moments,
Mm.
that jumping out of you know perfectly good airplanes with 64 of my best buddies, at night with, no no lights, those kinds of things. Those are the aha moments.
Sure.
So my time as an enlisted soldier was a lot, um, a lot more of that. Whereas, as a commissioned officer, it was a lot cerebral, right?
Mm.
More than it was physical. Commanded at the redeveloped the Army Officer Candidate School of Commissioning, redeveloped the Infantry Officer Basic Course. Did I was the primary author for the Soldier's Creed.
Oh, that's
So
huge.
yeah, well, a lot of people hate me for that, so I don't try to tell people that, because it's funny when we put the briefing together for the then Chief of Staff of the Army. Um, one of our first lines was don't make this a dog tag, right? Because it'll dilute the purpose of it, which was to inculcate the warrior ethos throughout the service, right?
Mm.
It's the first thing they do, make a dog tag,
Dog tag.
right?
Yeah.
But that's kind of what the Army does.
And you've seen a lot of changes in the all branches of armed forces in your career and since you've been out. How impactful is and this? We're not going to get into a political politics
Yeah, yeah,
show, but I think the leader in the White House, right? That I think that has direct effect of how it's looked upon from the outside, and but from the inside, how important is it to have a strong military-minded leader in the White House?
yeah. So, having started under Reagan, and
Ah,
then served, um, in underneath both, Clinton, and then retired when Obama was there. So it makes a big deal. I mean, there was a
yeah,
big difference between, having Reagan or Bush in the White House versus having, Obama or Clinton or Obama in the White House. That was huge. It was a big deal. And it's more not necessarily about a party,
Sure,
um,
sure, yeah.
but it's about a focus on warfighting, right? And both Democrat and Republican administrations have to focus on warfighting, but they don't talk about it the way they do.
Hmm.
It's a big difference. And then the SecDef, Pete's making a big difference too. You
I
know,
agree.
Pete and I were in the same unit in
Oh,
the
that's cool.
101st when he was a platoon leader when I was a company commander in the 101st, and Eric Garrissey, who was one of the first sergeants in that same company, retired command sergeant major, is one of his senior advisors. So if he's got folks like Eric around him, and is a warrior. So he's got folks like Eric around him. He's getting great advice. So
So what's your thoughts right now of where we are as far as our protecting our borders and kind of the general mindset from inside the military now, from people you know?
yeah, I mean, one of my best friends is a little bird pilot. So he's about the only one that I have you know insight from
Sure.
about the current state of, like I said, I've been retired for 20 years, right? But but you can look at the results, right? And the there there have been use of the military on the border over time. Like I said, I spent several tours down on the southern border, with not necessarily looking at um, immigration stuff, but looking at drugs, right? And
Sure.
counter narcotics operations and stuff like that. So, I mean, if the proof is in the pudding, so if we see a reduction in the impacts, then the actions are working.
Well, I have a little bit of an insight from our church, Ken and Faye Overstreet. I'm sure you have met them and work in our food ministry. Your wife, they love her, by the way.
Yeah,
Um, their son is a border patrol
yeah,
out in Arizona, and some
yeah,
of the stories they tell us before the new regime, it was, hey, we can't engage in this, we can't engage in that. It's
right.
and now they're taking a more preemptive a
Yeah, well, they're
strike and
doing.
back.
They're allowed to do what their job tells them to do,
Yeah.
right? And the law tells them to do, right? So the big difference is, are you actually enforcing the law?
Yeah. And some of the story, I mean, he's actually on horseback out there.
Mhm.
And some of the stories that I'll tell you off air,
Yeah.
um, it's a war going on that most people don't know about.
Oh
But
yeah, and
you've been
I
there, you've seen it.
participated on that one. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
we did several, and these are so long ago. So it's several, things with BORTAC, which is the Border Patrol Tactical Teams. Um, that people just don't realize the how dangerous the border is.
yeah.
And there are areas down there that are just lawless. Um, and
Suarez.
if it wasn't for if it wasn't for us, then we spent I spent 45 days staging out of Fort Bliss
Oof.
in El Paso, working that sector.
Well, that's way different than a taco truck in Tijuana.
Yeah.
It's different. It's different.
I'll tell you, one of the more interesting ones was, spent um, I don't know, about 30 days in the Gila National Forest
Oh,
in New Mexico, um, working with then JTF 6, which was the Counter Narcotics Joint Task Force, working with law enforcement, trying to find illegal um, grows and
oh,
meth labs and caves. So we got to do some
really?
like old fashioned, almost like tunnel rat work, right? Where we found one time we found a cave, and it had like an opening like that big, right? You look through, shine it. It looks like you got to crawl in through there, and you're doing looking for booby traps and all this. It opens up into this huge cave, and there's a meth
Unbelievable.
chemicals and all kinds of stuff. So it's
Unbelievable.
great. It's crazy what's up there out there in the hinterlands, as they say.
Again, this is episode Alan Preizer, Pastor. Hey, let's get into a few questions. Let me hit you with a little rapid fire, if we can. Mix things up a little bit. We're going to start with coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Love it. Does pepperoni belong on pizza?
Of course it does.
You're out of your mind. You're out of your mind.
I'm from New York. You can't. You're not gonna. You're not gonna win the pizza war with me.
That could be its own other show. How about this? Favorite movie?
Braveheart.
Oh, what's your favorite quote? I know you got a ton of them.
Yeah. It's got to be a Lombardi quote. You know.
He's had one or two.
So it's just any Lombardi quote.
All right, hey, give me your Mount Rushmore of athletes when you were a kid. These are your Mount Rushmore, regardless of the sport. What is your Mount Rushmore of athletes?
Thurman Munson.
Go Yankees.
Yeah. Harry Carson.
Oh.
Lawrence Taylor, and Dick Butkus.
Wow, Butkus. What was the draw to Butkus?
Just always been a linebacker. I mean, Butkus was my, Butkus was my the first model linebacker that I've ever wanted to be. I always wanted to be Dick Butkus.
Come on, NFL linebackers now like, oh, Dick Butkus was mean. He was the guy.
But I was too short. So
okay.
I had a coach in a camp once tell me that I played like Dick Butkus, but I was too short.
So you're the height of Rudy, but the attitude of Dick Butkus.
Exactly.
You know, that's
I ended up playing nose guard at Marist.
You know, side note here, we'll stop the rapid fire for a second. Is there a better position on the field where you just get down and cause chaos and ruckus than the nose position?
Yeah, that was my favorite. From a football mindset, middle linebacker was my position. That's where I played because
Me too.
I liked controlling things.
Yeah.
Right? I am, believe it or not, a little bit of a control freak. But I needed to see everything. Right?
Sure.
But as far as pure fun,
yeah,
playing nose guard was the funnest position ever to play.
Yeah, Fife, the center at Fife is not liking the nose at Kusa. Let me just say that. That's not fun. All right, let's get back. He is. Yeah, he's a PSD about that. What is your go-to meal?
Meal?
Mm-hmm.
Jeez. At this age, it's not what it used to be. But,
amen to that.
Yeah, but lasagna.
True to the New York roots up there. Yeah. Hey, what would be your perfect day?
Time to think, right? Time to think and go to the gym and spend time with Jackie. Just veg out. That's like sort of the perfect day.
With lasagna.
Yeah, with lasagna.
With lasagna. Hey, give me what is your all-time greatest, best, most favorite date with your bride? You romantic devil, you.
Yeah, I'm not a romantic devil. I think it really wasn't a date, but I think the best sort of period was when we were together overseas. Because she came over when I was working overseas. She came over in the back half of it, and we were together 24/7. So we stayed together, went to work together, we worked at the same place, went home together. We were always together.
Yeah.
And then we went on some really cool vacations together. Spent 21 days in the Mediterranean. And, so I think that period of time where we're always sort of that togetherness and bonding, I think would be my favorite.
Yeah, she's an incredible lady. That I've got to talk to her a few times lately.
Keeps me on my toes.
Well, she's something. What would be your dream golf foursome? You and three others. Who would those three you'd love to play golf with?
Yeah, well, considering I don't play golf.
Okay.
If I did play golf, I'd like to play golf with the Apostle Paul.
Oh.
I'd like to definitely pick his brain. Then probably Teddy Roosevelt,
Oh, okay. I like it.
because I sort of like that sort of Rough Rider leadership style. Um, then I go back to Butkus. I like to know what how he thinks. So those three and me maybe.
I don't know that we could have you and Buckus in the same golf cart. That may not work. That may not work. But hey, I hear Paul is horrible at reading greens, right? So you're
Yeah,
going to get him on the
yeah,
green, right?
exactly, exactly.
You're going to get it. So what do you do to relax? What's your relax? Is it the gym? Is it you got a hobby
Yeah,
you enjoy?
yeah. I mean, I'm definitely more stressed when I don't go to the gym. So
Yeah.
that and I really I like studying at this point. So
Yeah.
that's relaxing to me. You know, I'm working on a second book and those kinds of that's pretty relaxing.
Well, my next question was was going to be what book are you reading right now?
I'm not really reading
You're
anything right
writing.
now. I'm writing, so
Yeah.
it's whatever I need for that. It's I have not read for pleasure in a very long time.
Yeah.
Um, it's always something that's related to like teaching, preaching, writing, something like that. Which I guess that is pleasure for me. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just not. I used to be I used to read fiction stuff all the time. You know, I
Did
was
you really?
huge Tom Clancy. Read almost all of Tom Clancy's early. You know, Stephen
Yeah.
King. Read all that early Stephen King. So, but I haven't read a fiction book in decades.
My pastor in a cohort with Kapow Media, Jeff Underwood, who will be back in the booth with me this year. He took this last year off, so he'll be back. He just wrote a book. It's a daily devotional
Yeah,
called As Christians. Pretty fantastic, by the way. Um, I'm not writing a book. I have to wait till some more people pass away so I can actually put their names in it. I'm trying to protect people. Trying to protect people. Hey, upcoming football season. Practice starts somewhat today, I believe, with
okay.
Kusa. How much are you
Yeah.
going to be around, and are you going to be a position coach?
Not officially. No,
I'm trying to get you in there.
I'm not going to be. I mean, I'll be there. I'm
Yeah.
going to be helping out with the linebackers like I did last year. But I sort of float around.
Let's talk about Kusa linebackers for a second.
Yeah.
You got some good ones to work with. Let's talk about Mickler.
Yeah, I was just about to say it. I am really excited to see how Cade, you know, how he develops. He's another one with sort of a quiet intensity. I like to see him get more intense, but
The dude reminds me of Tarzan. He's
yeah,
just he's
yeah,
wild. And so I walk into the gym yesterday. I'm delivering some stuff to the food ministry there, and I hear a little basketball going on. So I make my way in there, and who do I see running up and down the gym? Cade Mickler.
yeah,
I didn't even know he played basketball.
yeah,
Dude's
yeah,
intense. Just squatted over 500 pounds, benches over 300 pounds.
yeah,
Two-time All-State.
yeah.
That's going to be a.
Good.
I'm excited to see
And
what he's going to do.
he's a good athlete, and we're thinking we may see Rad at linebacker a little bit.
Oh, really?
He'd be. I'd love to see him at middle linebacker.
Dude, could you imagine? Because he causes havoc on the defensive line. You give him 3-4 yards to get a run and go with somebody.
It'd be like Cleat.
Talk about somebody that we're going to be missed.
Hmm.
Three-time All-State, one of the
Yeah,
top tacklers in the history of football in Alabama.
yeah,
That kid was different,
yeah.
and
But
if
if
he
you know what
had
made him different, his football IQ made him different.
off the it's coach's son, right?
You know, but the kid just knew where the ball was going to be before the ball went,
Yeah, he
and that's
felt it.
isn't that the defining characteristic of any linebacker, of a great linebacker, right? Is
Yep.
the sense for the ball and being where the ball is.
So Ray Lewis.
Yeah, Ray Lewis.
I was just watching highlight videos yesterday because that's what I do. I like watching a lot of the old players, and I love X's and O's. But I don't think that Reed gets the credit he deserves as being one of the best safeties to
Oh,
ever.
Ed Reed.
Ed Reed, yeah, Ed Reed was, and that defense, Ed Reed, and that Baltimore defense was just
Yeah,
sick.
yeah.
Um,
Not as good as as the Giants defense in the late '80s. But
Well, I think the Bears may say something about that in the 85, 86, right? That was crazy. Hey, I'm not going to keep you very much longer. How can people? I want you to be able to put your. We'll tag it. We want people to go out and get your book. I know it's going to be fantastic, and people can come join. You encourage people to come be a part of your men's group there at Wills Creek.
Yeah. So you can just contact me at Alan@willscreek.org. Just Alan@willscreek.org, and if you're interested in the book, then I can hook you up and show you, and then if you're interested in the Bible study, it's going to start sometime in August, and it'll be on Wednesdays at 7:30 p.m. on Wednesdays. So it may be at 7. We're working on that because we're trying to do it so those that are like teaching other studies on Wednesday and stuff can still make it. Realize it's pretty late.
So
it should be good.
I have no doubt. I'm probably gonna buy a couple of those books to give away on the program. We always like to try to give back. So again, thank you so much. I look forward to having more conversations with you, probably on the football field really soon. Can't wait for that. Anything we can to do to help you guys or your ministry, man, reach out to us anytime.
No, I appreciate what you do for the for all of the kids, right? And the impact that you have, using your voice for good, countering all of the other noise that's
Amen.
out there.
Amen to that. To thank you so much, Pastor Ranger Alan Preizer. Don't call him Pfizer. Hey, this is an episode Alan Preizer. You have been watching the Jerry White Show. Coach, thank you so much, man.
Yeah.
Hey, as soon as it gets completed, we'll get it over to you.
Is that good? Is that
fantastic? I mean, just conversation, man. I try to just make it as simple as possible, just conversation. I'm planning a kind of a Black Ops roundtable kind of event coming up in the next few months. So I'd love to, I'm gonna have you and Mark and some other people. We'll probably go in the studio. I'm not sure it'll be Zoom or in the studio, and just have some open conversations like that. I thought that'd be something different.
Yeah, if you want to do that, I can see if we can get my buddy from 160th.
Yeah, sure. I think it'd be fantastic.
Because out of anybody that you're going to talk to, there's nobody. He's got more time in the 160th than any. I mean, he check this guy's career, right? You want to have a conversation. So he was enlisted as a mortarman, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then went to warrant officer school, became a pilot, and flew Kiowas, right? Then went to OCS. That's where I met him, and got commissioned. Then he flew again, and then he went to Task Force 160th. Did 10, 12 years in Task Force 160th, and then
that's crazy in itself.
He's also a pastor. In Kentucky. He's the first person to ask me to preach.
That's incredible.
And then that's one story I didn't get to that I could have told. But anyway, he's then they asked him to come back. So he's been back flying with Task Force for the last 5 years or something. So I'm going to his retirement next week.
Heck yeah.
Retirement.
So what part of Kentucky is he in?
He's right outside Katy. He's right there, right by Fort Campbell.
Fort Campbell. Okay. Heck yeah. Are you gonna make it out to practice today?
Yeah, you going out there?
Yeah, I'll be out there around 2:30.
All right, I'll bring you a book.
Oh heck yeah! Sign it for me.
Yeah, I will.
All right, man. Hey, thanks so much. I'll talk to you this afternoon. Appreciate you. Thanks, man.